Welcome back to Kilncast. We want to remind you that at any time during the show, you can email us any questions or comments that you have at kilncast@montevallo.edu. So we're back here with the group. Before we went to break, we were talking about some of the past experiences, some near disasters here at the kiln. And during the break, Dr. Meyer, you were talking about the dialogue that you as an artist have with the kiln. Describe a little bit about that communication between artist and machine.
Yeah, I mean, I think it bears saying this is a very ancient tool, and it was basically a way to get pots hot. I mean, there was an aesthetic quality, and I'm sure that they recognized that there was a nice ash drip or a nice bit of surface caused by flame. But we have in our current technology a lot of ways that are not this labor intensive to get things hot and to vitrify to the surfaces of the pots. And so why would we continue to do this has a lot to do with aesthetics and a lot to do with concept. And one of the things I'm interested in is putting this tool in the hands of contemporary artists, not just ceramic artists, but artists in general. And a really nice story of this semester was an artist from Birmingham named Jane Marshall, who is a retired printmaking professor who joined us, didn't know, was very reluctant to do something in clay, wound up taking a lot of her old wood blocks, relief cuts, and we pressed them into the surface of the clay, and then she wound up making these marvelous little whimsical forms out of them that were textured with her previous aesthetic from printmaking. And so I personally get very interested when fields overlap one another and start dialoguing with one another. A colleague of mine who teaches at RIT, School for American Crafts, name is Rick Hirsch. And Rick's been firing with us periodically for a few years now. We actually I have a Hirsch spot in the kiln now, I think, that I know where he likes the pieces that he fires. And he sent down a few small pieces that are in there now. And he is a raku artist, for those of you that know ceramics and know his name. And that's how he made his mark initially on the field. But he is a person that experiments a lot with ancient technology and applies it toward contemporary issues. And he has picked up wood firing, and we're privileged to dialogue with him. And, a colleague of mine named Peter Callis taught me wood firing, and he is the gentleman responsible for the surfaces on most of the wood-fired sculptures of Peter Voulkos. Probably the most significant collaboration in the 20th century in ceramics, and I was very privileged that he taught me a little bit about wood fire and gave me my start. So.
And right now we're showing some of the pieces that are in the kiln. Can you, any of y'all that can see the monitor over there, talk about the pieces that you're seeing?
These are done by one of Scott's students who's experimenting, Matt, who's experimenting with texture. And I guess he is impressing little plastic army men into the clay and making these little vessels. But this semester it was real neat to come up here because I hadn't seen the students' work. I brought some of my own work up, and we were all sitting around the table discussing the work, and everybody pulled out these pieces that were so rich with texture. So, from the time that this May term started, and everybody starting to work on things, everybody seemed to have the same kind of concept of playing with surface texture and techniques, and some really lively pieces emerged from that. So it was really nice to see those get loaded into the kiln.
And Jane had a lot of influence on us, all of the students, as far as texture went. Seeing her work with her woodcut prints really inspired several of us, and also Davis with his tile work. When he's carving into them and putting his expression onto the pieces, he had a lot of influence on us as well. So it was the two of them, I think, were inspiring for all of us for texture.
It's like when you're making these pieces, you're making pieces to think about where they might be in the kiln or what the kiln might do to the pieces. So that's why the texture is so important to play with.
And during the break, I know y'all were talking about some of the people that have traveled here to the kiln to fire things here. Right. And we have people now with the ability with the Kilncast that all across the country can watch it. But, you know, we've had some people that have packed up the car or the van and they hit the road for a lot of hours, and, you know, that's a lot of miles. So tell us a little bit about who's here, how far they've come, and, you know, just what type of journey they have been on to come and actually be a part of the kiln firing in person.
Well, mainly I want Tony to respond to that because he has some colleagues, friends here that I think got the door prize.
Yeah, the most traveled participants in the kiln is Professor John Leopold from Northland College in Thief River Falls, Minnesota. So that's almost Canada. And this is actually probably the beginning of their journey. Part of the reason why they're coming down here is a fact-finding mission. John has a background in printmaking. He's done a lot of work with pinhole photography, and I knew he was a great candidate for someone that would really ask some new questions about this kiln. So he and 3 of his students are with us today, and when we get done here today, they're going to go with me back to Mobile and start a journey, a bicycle journey all the way back to Thief River Falls, Minnesota, to raise scholarship money for his college. So hopefully the next firing, or perhaps next May, John will be here with some of his students, and they'll actually be putting things in the kiln, or he's thinking about trying to turn the kiln into a camera. So the great thing about this kiln and the ideas that are generated out of it is it's not so specific to what we would typically expect of an Anagama firing.
I've always invited the atypical. I don't know why that is. But you know, another gratifying thing is to have former students here. Artist named Chris Kelly that was a student at Montevallo, and we had one of the national treasures here on a conference, and we were fortunate enough to have that person. Jeroen Fujita was here for 10 days from the Ichizen region. It was organized by the Museum of Art in Birmingham. And he gave a master class and influenced a lot of my students, including Chris, who subsequently, after he graduated, went over and studied and apprenticed Mr. Fujita for a year. Then came back and did an MFA at School for American Crafts with Rick Hirsch. And now he's back teaching in the South. In a college, and so, you know, we kind of hollered it, you know, back and forth, and I usually freak out and think I'm not going to have enough stuff. He is in the process of moving, and you know, postpone that for a week to be here with us and work his buns off, and to put some of his traditional forms in there. So he came by and saved our fannies a little bit, and is participating in this. Probably going to introduce some traditional Japanese wood firing techniques that he learned when he was over there.
And right now, as they continue, you know, putting things into the fire to hope, you know, start it spreading back into the kiln, we can feel the heat coming out, and this probably wasn't the best location for an interview. It looks good, but y'all, it is really hot out here, and it's only going to get hotter, and especially inside. Tell us again, we were talking during the break, about how hot it actually gets inside the kiln.
When we're next with you, when you're next with us on Saturday, hopefully, unless we do something wrong, it'll be 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit inside of the kiln, immediately inside of the firebox where Davis is now stoking in that little corridor. And so 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit. Hopefully we have it fairly even front to back. It seems like it would be hotter at the fuel source, but when you're next with us, we'll be introducing fuel all up the kiln, all behind each of the little doors that go along the side of the kiln. And so those doors correspond to corridors, which no doubt you showed at another part of your broadcast. And so we will be on Saturday introducing fuel to each one of those corridors. So it will be an enormous column of flame that will actually be longer than the kiln and its chimney, which means that you'll see the flame coming out the top of the chimney.
And Dr. Meyer, I don't know if you can see it on the monitor there. If you can make out what's there, can you describe what you're seeing?
I'm getting too much reflection. I can't quite. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it looks like we might be having a little bit of a technical problem.
We're looking into the kiln, and it looks like I can't tell if it's the middle of the kiln or the firebox.
That's you, Chris. That's a reflect. Oh, wait a minute. Now I'm. Uh-oh.
Well, we are having technical difficulties. We apologize for that. But you know, right now things are just beginning. And by Saturday, it's really going to be hopping out here. It's going to be hot. You're going to be adding that extra fuel, like you said. And we just appreciate everything that you have done, how willing you've been to assist us and sit here and talk to us. And we just really appreciate it. And now over to Megan.
Well, that's it for today. Be sure to join us this next Saturday as the kiln is full blast, and we'll watch as some of the artists pull their pieces from it. It will be at 1 p.m. Central Time. And thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you then.